Today I'm going to be doing a review of the A5 Ochre Malden Filofax. I have done a review of the personal sized Ochre Malden Filofax. I got this Filofax from organisershop.com.au. It was somewhere between $200 and $260. I'm thinking probably about $260. But I don't use this Filofax regularly. There was a point in time when I was using it for work and for social, purely because I found I had a separate diary for work and I had a separate diary for my other job and I had a separate personal diary, and it was just far too many diaries and my bag was really heavy. So I did all put them into the one diary, but then I found this one was just a little bit too big to carry around on a daily basis. The cover is beautiful antiqued leather. It does scratch easily. I don't know if you can really see from this angle, but it does scratch easy. But I think it just adds to the Filofax. It's got kind of like a rustic, well-used feel. And so the scratches don't really bother me, although I do get a little bit anxious every time I notice a new scratch and I sit there trying to rub them out. When I first got this Filofax, I didn't really feel like I had a relationship with it, and those of you who are Filofax lovers will know what I'm talking about. I didn't like the leather, it wasn't as nice, and I didn't feel as connected to it as I did with my personal, but that was because I hadn't really used it. I was using it as a journal, but when I started using it on a daily basis, the leather did soften up and things like that, so I did kind of start to like it a bit more. And I do feel bad that I don't use this. This just sits in my drawer and it has no real use. And it's so beautiful, and I feel like I should sell it to buy something I'm going to use. But at the same time, it's one of those classic Filofaxes that once you have, you do not ever replace it. You do not ever sell it. You just keep it. So this is inside the Filofax. It does have a nice big zippered pocket on the side. It fits Australian money, like notes, perfectly flat in there as if it was a purse. So I quite like that pocket. I'm often dealing with cash when I go to work, so it was handy to have the pocket there just to have the cash nice and flatly in there. Has two pen loops. They're not elasticated, but I find for my uses they're fine. It has 4 card holders in the front, plus behind the zip there's a pocket. And there's also a nice big pocket behind the card holders. I really, really love the pockets that this Filofax has. They're nice and big, you can fit lots of stuff, and they're deep enough that you can put things in there and they won't stick out all over the place. On the other side, I've got a top opening envelope which has my schedule in it. I love top opening envelopes because I can pop my photos in there, my schedules. I don't really keep a dashboard, but I will randomly stick bits of paper there just to remind myself. I've been using the day on a page inserts. I find that I love the lines. This Filofax came with a week on 2 pages unlined, and I really don't like inserts that don't have lines. So I went and brought these inserts, which I think cost me $7 at Officeworks, and I brought them in April. Around April at Officeworks, they tend to have sales on their diary inserts. So generally this insert recommend retails for about $35 to $40. I actually got the tip from Kent from Oz on YouTube to go around April to buy the inserts because they are ridiculously cheap. So I got all different inserts for all different Filofaxes for $7, which was kind of good. I find this insert in particular has heaps and heaps of room for me to write. So I don't know if you can see, but look at the Friday page, and it's got 2 columns. So on one column it's got times from 8 AM to 8 PM, and that's where I write all my appointments and things in there. And then on the second column on the Friday page, that's where I write my to-do list, and then I just tick it off as it gets done. I do colour coordinate things just so I can easily see what's on for the day. So usually I use pink for myself, blue for uni, green for my son, then I use purple for birthdays, orange for my boyfriend, and yellow for my parents. So it's nicely colour coordinated so I can quickly see where things are. The only downside to this particular insert is It's got, I think it's 5 languages. So it has September written 5 times in 5 different languages, and the day in 5 different languages. And I'd really like to just get an insert that it's just English. It just makes the page a little bit less crowded. You'll see as well that I use coloured tabs up the top. They are Avery tabs. Unfortunately, it's really hard to find white Avery tabs here in Australia. Been using these pink and blue ones. Usually I keep the pink one. It's to let me know when the next Monday's coming, so the next week. And the blue one I use when my next payday is. And of course I use the black ruler to mark a day on the page. This Filofax also came with 6 inserts. You can't really read them from here. I had a diary section, a home section, a goals section, a wish list section, wedding and a contacts section. So originally when I got this Filofax, I was using it kind of like a journal, kind of just to keep my goals and things like that, wedding ideas in it. And then I decided to use it by putting all 3 diaries into one. But since I'm not using it for a planner or a diary, I think I will probably go back to using it as a journal. And I will probably just get some plain note paper to pop in the journal section instead of getting dated inserts, because I find I wasn't writing every day. But I am also a little bit hesitant to use it as a journal because I have been using a composition notebook. I've been using a composition notebook for my journal, purely because I've got lots of the composition notebooks, and I think over time when I fill them up they'll be easier to line up on a shelf rather than having a couple of binder rings and having my Filofax inserts stack, which I don't think they'll look as neat and tidy, and they won't sit next to each other on a shelf nice and straight. They will bend and things like that. So I have gone to use the composition books, which Officeworks have for $2. This Filofax came with all the regular inserts. I had coloured note paper, I had the notepad at the back, to-do lists, finance sheets, contacts. I did tailor the Filofax because I don't use a lot of that stuff. I never use finance sheets, never use to-do lists. I'm just really into just give me a pad of paper and I will just write down in that and then I'll file it wherever. So in here, this is actually the pad that I got that was at the back of the Filofax, and I have just stuck it in here. The idea was to separate all the sheets, but I haven't done that yet, and I'm not using it, so I probably won't do it till I use it. And you'll see here all the coloured, you can't really see, the coloured note paper that I'm using. And then at the back I've just got a fly leaf, and I find I need to have a fly leaf at the back, otherwise the pages here get kind of bent and dirty from being bent on this side of the rings. I kind of refuse to pay $6 or $7 for a piece of plastic from Filofax, so usually I make my own out of projector sheets, and my mum has an office job, so she's able to bring me home a couple of sheets every now and then, and I just cut them down and put them in wherever I like, and it doesn't cost me anything. The other thing about this Filofax is it has a really nice large pocket at the back where my pad of paper was. This can fit an A4 sheet of paper folded in half really nicely in there. The main thing that let me down about this Filofax compared to the personal is that in the personal, in this section here, there is a huge pocket, and I'll just show you. So in my personal, I have a huge pocket at the back where I can stuff papers. The A5 does not have that pocket, and when I first got it, I wasn't sure if I couldn't see it, so I sat there for a couple of minutes trying to open this section here, and there is most definitely not a pocket there. So that's the only thing that really lets me down about this Filofax, is it doesn't have quite the same amount of storage as my personal. Another thing that I really loved about all the Malden range is that it's super bendy, so you can bend it any which way and it's really flexible, and I just like that it looks lived in, so it's quite nice. The clips on all the Maldens kind of get in the way when you're writing, so generally I tend to pop them behind there when I'm writing. Has another pen loop here, which is really good. I fit it's kind of a narrow pen loop, but I don't really use fat pens, so I just pop a pen from Smiggle in there. I have noticed as well, if you are using a click pen, or, okay, we'll just go with the click pen, make sure that it's always closed, because the corner of the Filofaxes usually bend up. You'll get a little ink spot at the bottom here. I do find as well with the Maldens, the stitching here, I haven't noticed it anywhere else, but the stitching on the back in this little corner down here tends to wear. It's kind of bordering on looking like it's adding to the lived-inness of the Filofax, but also is it wearing out the Filofax, and I'd be really upset if that stitching came undone and it wore it down even more. But otherwise I really quite like this Filofax, and like I said, I am disappointed that I'm not using it on a more regular basis. I'm not sure what I want to do with it at the moment. I want to use it because it's very beautiful. I'm not sure what I want to use it for. So until then, it's sitting on my shelf. I was contemplating putting it back in the box with the wrapping, but then I thought, no, it's too pretty to sit in a box, and I'll have it out, and if I put it in the box, I'll never use it. This is my favourite Filofax range. I am getting a new purple personal sized Malden for Christmas or my birthday, and I am looking at getting a mini sized Malden and using it as a wallet. The only real criticism I have of a Malden in any size is that because the leather is a soft leather and it is really flexible, it does make it hard to hold your Filofax in your hand and take a note while you're standing up, for instance, or when you're on the go. Whereas when I had my Metropole, I could do that at any time, and it was quite sturdy because the actual Filofax was very, very firm. Next up, I will be doing a comparison with the Personal and A5 Ochre Maldens to point out a few things that I do and don't like about each of them. But overall, definitely try and get your hands on a Malden.